You're listening to Spotlight, the podcast that fosters connections with veterans and military spouses. Here's your host, Bob Louthan.
Welcome, everybody. This is your host, Bob Louthan. Welcome to the Spotlight on the Veteran Crowd Network. Pleased to have as my guest today, Elise Woodworth. She is a graduate of the Virginia Military Institute, just like me. So we're going to be talking a lot about that today. She is the founder and owner of Woodworth Enterprises, betterwithwe.com. We're going to talk a little bit about that. And she's an Air Force veteran and here today going to share with us a lot about what she's doing with innovative mindsets. Elise, it is a pleasure to have you in the Spotlight on the Veteran Crowd Network. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Bob. It is an honor to be stepping into the spotlight where so many great men and women have come before me, and I feel honored to be counted among them.
I'm really pleased to have you. So I always start, with my guests and talk about, where they grew up and those sort of things, a little bit of background. And then I want to explore with you how you ended up choosing to go to VMI. So tell us a little bit about your younger years.
Well, it's interesting. The beginning all kind of came into focus really a couple years ago. It was 2018, and I went through an innovative leadership circle. It was a course that was offered for executives, business executives, company executives of all different industries to go through a process of growing their innovation, their innovative muscle, as we called it. And, sometimes I would struggle with that very question, how did it all begin? Where did you come from? And it was during my time in the hot seat, everybody brought a question or a problem. And we brought that to the hot seat, and all the other members of the circle were asking us questions, helping to frame that question, helping you come up with a solution. And during the course of these other industry leaders asking me questions, it came out, someone said to me, Elise, what are you afraid of? It really made me stop and think. And I said, I'm afraid of failure. I'm afraid to fail. And that quickly, these were really sharp people, that really quickly led to the question, well, what does failure look like? And I'd never taken time to step back from life. Life goes so quickly. And I'd never taken time to step back from there and really define that. What is failure? If I'm so afraid of it, what is it? And after a little soul searching, the answer came back that I was afraid of inactivity. I was afraid of not doing something. I was afraid of missing opportunities. And after, out of the hot seat, out of the spotlight, and I got to take some time to spend with those questions and think about them. And going back to the beginning, it was that fear of missing an opportunity, the fear of failure, that really pushed me to do a lot of different things and a lot of things that aren't ordinary. And eventually, one of those things was going to VMI.
Where did you grow up? Where did you grow up?
I grew up in a small town in Indiana, and I love the town, loved where I grew up. I was very comfortable, and it was a very comfortable community, small, tight-knit, but I was afraid to get stuck there. And I was afraid to not do anything. And my father's the class of 72 from VMI.
Oh, okay.
And
so there's a connection. Did he bring you to VMI as a young person then?
He did. I remember I think the pictures are from 1991. So I'd have been 6 or 7. And I remember standing in Jackson Arch and just looking up and seeing this big, cold place. I also remember Crozet Hall for some reason. I have memories of the dining facility. But I never dreamed of going there. I knew it, I couldn't go there, wouldn't go there, until I was in 8th grade, and that became a reality. That became something I could do.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad got me a preliminary appointment.
Yeah,
because I had
appointment.
I'd expressed interest in the military and following in his footsteps in that way. And when it came down to it, I could have gone to Purdue very easily, done ROTC at Purdue and followed a similar track. I'd have been a lot closer to home. But all of my friends were going there, and they were all coming home after graduation, which is great, and a great path for people to take. But again, I had that fear. I was holding on to my fear of failure and not doing something with myself. And so I did the unordinary thing, and I went to the Virginia Military Institute.
What was it like? I was the son of an alumnus, right? I sort of thought I knew what I was getting myself into, but it's a little bit of a shock, isn't it?
Well, I'd watched a VHS tape growing up also of the rat line, and I thought I knew also what I was getting into. And when you meet the cadre in those first moments where they're yelling at you and they're in your face, why are you at my school? What are you doing here? Wipe the smirk off your face, da da da. And they're going through all those questions, and I just knew that was the next 4 years. This was the next 4 years, and they weren't going to win.
and it wasn't long after that you were probably delivering the message instead of being on the receiving end, right?
Much more fun
participant in the education of the incoming rats. Hey, how did you choose the Air Force?
Well, that's really not a big story. I started out in Army ROTC, and the Air Force had comfier PT gear.
Okay. That's an honest answer. So what did you do? What did you do in the Air Force?
So this is another one of those moments where you think you have it planned. And I have a degree in biology. I have a bachelor's of science in biology, have a minor in environmental engineering. And I thought that I was going to go into the bio field, the bio engineering.
Mm-hmm.
It was a career field that I wanted to go into. And I was a second half of the junior year, and my ROTC advisor says, what are you going to do in the Air Force? I said, well, this is what I'd like to do. And she says, well, you can't do that without a civil engineering major. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking, I don't have that. I'm not close to that. I have this minor, but I'm not close to a major in that. So she said, well, here are some options, put them in order and we'll see what you get. And so I put them in order. My eyesight is not stellar, so I was not going to fly. And I think there were 7 choices. Logistics was 6th, services was 7th, and I got logistics. Mm-hmm. And then I got stationed in Altus, Oklahoma. So here I am, a biology major from Indiana in Virginia. I had to Google. I Googled Altus, Oklahoma to mm-hmm. figure out where it was. Then I had to Google logistics to see what I was going to be doing because I had no idea what that meant. And without following, just kind of saying yes to that process, and I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna serve, it turned out to be one of the most amazing experiences, I think, of my entire life. It turns out that I loved logistics. Mm-hmm. And the career fields that you get into there with the fuels, managing supply in the warehouse, managing people movement, managing vehicles, and the vehicle management side of things. What I couldn't have asked for a better career field. And one of my commanders and mentors pointed out to me the fact that what I was doing was really project management. And he suggested that I look into that to continue my studies. Mm-hmm. And so now I never thought that I would go to VMI, right? I never thought I would do that. And I never thought I would be in Oklahoma. I never thought I would be a logistics officer. And I never even imagined that I would have a master's in business administration. I never thought I would get my MBA, focused in project management, and I loved it. Mm-hmm. It was during my time in the Air Force, right out of college, I got put in charge of the vehicle management flight. That was 93 civilians and military folks managing the carpool, the motor pool, and all of the maintenance, all of the vehicle maintenance.
You got your hands dirty in the process, didn't you?
And I loved it. It took me back to high school shop class, took me back to those sort of memories. But what I really enjoyed was taking the young airmen and giving them the tools that they needed to be successful as they go forward in their career, to understand communication, to understand leadership and what it meant to be in the Air Force. And that is something that has pushed me and inspired me today. It still inspires me.
So you were in the Air Force for 4 years?
That's correct.
And so I apologize. When did you graduate from VMI? What's your graduation year?
07.
07. Okay. So about 2011, you come out of the Air Force, and what did you do when you got out? How was the transition?
Well, it was bittersweet for me. It was not a planned transition. It turns out I was deployed when I got orders while I was deployed to move, and I was not prepared to make that move. And so regretfully, and I never thought I would separate. So here's again, one of those other things that I never thought I would do, never thought I would separate. And because communication was difficult, things were hard, and I made the decision to turn down the orders, which for an officer ends your career, right, essentially. So I still had a year to serve when I came back from my deployment, and I was left at Altus Air Force Base to finish that off, which
Where did you deploy to?
I was in Southeast Asia.
Okay. At an undisclosed location?
At an undisclosed location. And
I got you.
Again, going back, I never thought I would be leading convoys. Never thought I would be in that sort of situation. And you think back to the 6-year-old girl standing in Jackson Arch who doesn't think any of this is possible. And now I'm well trained and leading, 25 vehicles across the desert. Like those are things you just don't plan for. And without the training that I'd received at VMI in the Air Force, it's real easy to fall apart.
When does Woodworth Enterprises come into being? Tell me about that.
So again, a couple more of the things I never thought I would do, and that I was pushed on by this fear of failure. Again, after I separated from the Air Force, and I had that long transition, I had that year to plan and prepare for where I was going to finish my master's up. Became engaged to be married, and moved out to the East Coast, out to DC, the Northern Virginia area. Never thought I'd live here. And never thought I'd work in Washington, DC. But I got a job with the Department of Homeland Security, working as a project management officer for their FFRDCs. Had an amazingly eye-opening time, kind of getting out of DoD, moving into a different department, and seeing how different operations are in different organizations of the government. But while I was there, I started to realize that I felt stifled. I wanted to do more for people. And again, I wasn't being as active as I wanted to be, and I wasn't as happy as I thought I could be if I branched out onto my own. And so again, after sort of a lengthy transition from, talking with my boss and my supervisor about different options, different things I could do, decided that it would be best to break out and start my own company.
And what year was this?
This was in 2014.
2014. So 7 years ago, roughly six and a
Roughly.
half, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we're going to jump into the, being an entrepreneur in a second, but just to remind everybody, we're listening to Elise Woodworth. She is the founder and CEO of Woodworth Enterprises. And is it fair to say you're a consulting firm? Is that how you would describe yourself?
Yes, that's the easiest way. The easiest title I fit under is business consulting.
Mm-hmm.
I customize all the interactions I have with clients. And to date, I don't think I can say that I have a particular type of client that I have served solely in the past. I've worked for individuals, I've worked for groups, small groups, young groups. I've worked with a group of 4th and 5th graders, teaching them about leadership and teamwork. And I've worked, with government contractors, larger companies, helping them. You are
the first consultant that I've ever met that consulted 4th and 5th graders. That's a new one on me, I got to admit.
It was for a neighbor whose son was in a robotics club. And they, as one of their benchmarks for success as a team, needed to have some sort of leadership training.
And that is a forward-looking set of parents right there.
Some sort of a number of activities that they completed. And it was a really, to use kind of a military term, it was a high-speed group.
How about that?
They took, I brought snack and kind of lowered some of the more active team building exercises that we would do. And they just had a great time. And you could see, even then, even at the 4th and 5th grade level, you could see the people that were getting the concept of leadership. And talk about inspirational. Like that was one of the most fun things I've done.
That is an interesting niche, I've got to say. So you've been doing some interesting videos lately about innovation and adaptation. But let's step back. Starting a business is pretty tough. Do you think that having gone through your military experience that helped you, hindered you, prepared you? How did that military veteran experience help you succeed in launching your own business? Have you got any thoughts on that? Absolutely.
I think it absolutely has helped me. Even if it was only a personal strength that I had from those experiences that provided a platform for me to stand on, that would have been a help. But there was so much more. So much of the training and the people that I've encountered, the situations I've encountered. I always tell people, learn from everybody. Learn from your good leaders, learn from your bad leaders. Just keep your eyes open and your mouth shut. And it's always kind of been one of my mottos. And I try and observe and learn the good behaviors and the bad behaviors and what I want to what I want to do, what I want to be, and what I want to propel forward. And the military and VMI both give you very many opportunities to fail quietly. And it's okay. One example would be when I was in Air Force training and I got fired as the wing commander because I lost my cool and I went off and I went a little cadre on some people.
Okay.
And I got back to the command center and turned out I'd been shot by, secondhand shrapnel, something, go to Red Cross. All right. But that was an experience that I learned from, and I learned so much from that type of experience where no one was really in danger. That you don't get those opportunities very often to learn those big lessons at a young age like I did and carry those through to your adult life.
Yeah, I can remember an incident where I probably made the same mistake. Hey, let me ask a question about your innovation and adaptation work now. Let's talk a little bit about the focus of your company. You're doing some interesting stuff. You've prepared 3 or 4 short video snippets. I've seen those on LinkedIn and out in social media. And you're talking about adaptation. What was the genesis of that? Does that have to do with this uncertain environment we're living in now? Is that sort of the genesis of this this program you're promoting?
That's absolutely right on, Bob. One of the things I think people need to understand, and it's important in business, in your personal life, in so many different ways, is that all you need to overcome obstacles, to recognize problems and find solutions to them, it's all in your mind, and it's all in your mindset. And that is why this year with 2021, I'm really trying to push the innovative mindset. There is so much turmoil and so much stress and anxiety that people are facing. And if we can engage in this innovative mindset where problems are not going to end the world, for example, it is just an obstacle that needs to be looked at, much like you would in a leadership reaction course.
Could you go down to Pennsylvania Avenue and sell some of this, by the way?
If anyone listening is on Pennsylvania Avenue,
Yeah.
I would love to come and chat.
Yeah, the politicians don't want to let a good crisis go to waste, right? But this has really been a trying time. I wouldn't be a podcaster if it wasn't for COVID. It's an innovation, it's an adaptation.
And I wouldn't be doing videos or online classes. I'm much more of an in-person person, I guess.
Absolutely. I mean, think about, you think about how many Zoom calls have you had in the last 9 months? Countless, right?
I would have to run the report, right? You'd have to look.
I wouldn't even know where to look, but we've absolutely revolutionized things. And so you're teaching adaptation and innovation. Is that correct?
That's right. And again, it kind of goes back to that middle where I started to figure out what it was that was motivating me in the past, and where it used to be that fear would motivate me, and that fear of not doing anything. Now, what motivates me? So now that I've let go of that fear, it's the innovation that I'm holding on to and that I want to share with people. Because there are always going to be problems. You don't have to come up with your own. Like, I don't have to fear failure just to invent a problem.
Right.
There are problems, there are opportunities that are going to come your way. And if you have that right mindset, you have the innovative mindset, you're going to be able to frame that problem correctly. You're going to be able to ask the right questions that maybe even frame your problem more clearly, where you get to understand your stakeholders and why this is happening, and on and on and on. Then you brainstorm solutions, and then you move through into creating an action plan. Well, what if that action plan doesn't work? start again. Let's go back. Maybe we didn't frame the problem correctly. Let's look at it. Is the problem different now?
Sort of sounds a little bit like the OODA loop in the military, right?
Doesn't it?
Have you sort of developed a proprietary framework that is your process? I mean, if you're a coach, okay, how do you take on a new client? I mean, how would you help Veteran Crowd innovate? What would be sort of the Elise Woodworth and Woodworth Enterprises process?
So the process for learning about innovation, I think, is there's an element of self-understanding, of introspection, where you have to assess where you are on that spectrum, where your mindset is, and then develop a picture of where you want to be. And I don't have anything proprietary in this way, because everybody's at a different spot. And I like to customize how I interact with people. Wherever you are, wherever you want to be, let's build a bridge. Let's build a bridge to get you over there. And let's do it together. Or if you want to do it by yourself, let's just do a plan and then go for it.
I'm dealing with, we've got a project we're working on now in our company, and I guess one of my biggest problems right now is paralysis by analysis. I'm sitting here and analyzing all of these things, and I know I need to press forward, but I find myself sometimes wrestling with how do I execute. I got a good colleague of mine, and I'm kind of in the entrepreneurial side. It's 1% idea, 49% team, 50% execution. And, I know where I want to go, but I'm not exactly sure I know how to get there. And so I'm give me some coaching on this stuff. How do you overcome paralysis by analysis?
Well, not knowing more about the situation, I think I would ask a lot more questions in the beginning about.
Yeah, but am I fearful that I just can't make a decision, because I don't have enough information? That's
Are you? I don't know.
That's a good question.
That's what you need to.
Maybe you solved my problem for me. I just need to be plowing ahead. We're actually at that stage where we're trying to put together a minimum viable product and test the market so we need to throw it out there. Yeah, it's not ready. It might fail, but even if it does fail, you get answers from it, right?
That's right. And you'll be able to tell, you'll have a clearer picture once you do that. So I would ask you, like you've just said, you don't have all the information, so you're afraid to make a decision, right? What would you need to make a decision?
I don't know. Now you got me in the hot seat, just like you were at the beginning of this conversation.
This is Bob Louthan stepping into the hot spotlight.
That's right. I'm going to put you in the hot seat and ask you the hard questions. I mean, I think that's important. I want to go back to something else that you talked about, and you reminded me of a valedictory address that a young man, I think it was class of 2015, gave, a guy named Henry Meredith. And he said VMI gave us failure, in a generation where everybody had, gotten a trophy. Everybody was going to be the president of the United States. VMI actually gave you a real dosage of failure. You talk about motivation being, a fear of failure, but are you in reality actually embracing it as part of the process of maturing and growing and innovating?
So I don't think until 2018, until that couple years back, I don't know that I had a clear picture of what was really motivating me. I thought it was, I want to be better, faster, stronger. I want to go, do, be, all those things. And so I thought it was that, but it really came down to, after a lot of hard introspection, that fear. It was my motivator. But it doesn't have to be. And so I think that's where I've latched on to innovation, Now I might not have as much time, or I can't be with you personally, but I'm going to move into that environment, into the next stage, over that obstacle. And I'm going to do it with an innovative mindset, knowing that whatever is on the other side of that wall, I'm going to be able to handle it and address it then. And so it's no longer a fear of what's over there or what's behind me. It's I'm moving forward, and I'll be able to handle whatever comes my way when I get there.
It's a little bit of a process of discovery. You're sort of anxious to see what's there when you get there, isn't it?
It is. And sometimes patience is one of those tools that life uses to teach us a lot of good lessons.
So what have you got on the horizon for you and your business? Sort of give us a picture of where you're headed, and how do people get in touch with you?
Well, this year, like I've mentioned, we're focusing on the innovative mindset. And so that is going to be a thread that carries us through the year for Woodworth Enterprises. As we interact with clients, I think what we're going to focus on, and what we hope to focus on this year, is helping people strengthen their culture, helping companies strengthen their culture, because what we've gone through in the past year has been a tremendous amount of change. Nothing has been left untouched. And that has a lot of stress, that brings a lot of stress onto the workforce, onto your business, onto operations, everything. And as business leaders, we need to be aware of that stress and of that change, and strengthen our group, strengthen our teams, strengthen our culture, and move forward. And while each person might not be willing to accept the innovative mindset, they might not be ready for it. Sometimes people think innovation is a buzzword, or I'm too busy to innovate, or I'm too scared to innovate, I'm too afraid of change. Well, all of that can be taken back to a company's culture, an organizational culture, a mindset, and a leader's mindset. And so getting them on the right path to be successful, to have a successful 2021, to have a successful future, whatever that looks like. And one of the things we have developed is a culture survey to help leaders. It's a tool, it's customizable tool that we use we give it to the workforce, to the employees, to the group, whatever you call the body. Mm-hmm. And it shows us what are your fears as a group? What are your shared culture? What are your shared beliefs and values? And what's the vision of your company? Do you know the vision of your company, and how do you fit into that? And what it provides is a clear picture to business leaders, to business owners, entrepreneurs. It provides a clear picture of their workforce and of their company. And if there are any tweaks or edits that they want to make, we can help them do that, or give them a plan so they can get on their way.
So they can find you at betterwithwe.com, betterwithwe.com. You're out on social media as well, LinkedIn, any other platforms?
LinkedIn and Facebook right now. I'm not much
post,
of a fan of Twitter, but
well, Twitter is a conundrum for me too. I throw stuff into the black hole that is Twitter. And only the bad stuff comes back at me. So anyway,
I was listening to a talk yesterday, and the mention of the hit and run opinion.
Right.
And I think that's what I'm adverse to in that soundbite culture.
That's right.
I don't fit well into that arena.
So what we'll do is we will place links to Elise and Woodworth Enterprises on the show notes for this episode. We'll also put ways to get in touch with you via Facebook and follow you on LinkedIn. Look forward to see more of your videos. Time goes by quickly on these conversations, Elise. We're at our time limit. Thank you so much for stepping into the spotlight. I really appreciate you being a guest.
Well, thank you, Bob, for having me. And if you ever want to be in the hot seat again, just you know where to find me.
There you go. We'll have you back. So we've been listening to Elise Woodworth of Woodworth Enterprises. Again, you can reach her at betterwithwe.com. You've been listening to the Spotlight on the Veteran Crowd Network. We publish on Tuesdays and Fridays, and we're bringing veterans to you that are making a difference. Elise Woodworth, thank you very much for being on the program. Bravo, Zulu, and that's a wrap.
Thank you for listening to Spotlight by Veteran Crowd. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. For more information and uploads, please visit our website at veterancrowdnetwork.com. We'll see you next time.